You could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here. Hello, everyone. Today we meet in Milton Elliott, who is the graduate of the Academy of Dramatic Arts. He is a retired school teacher and an actor. Hi, Milton. Thank you
Hello.
for joining us today.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
All right. So we're going to start our conversation with your story of becoming the person you are today. Just let us know, how did you get into acting in the first place?
Okay. All right. Let's wind back the clock. I was after high school, I joined the Coast Guard, the U.S. Coast Guard, because I didn't want to go to college right away. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I had to do something. Mm-hmm. That's what my parents told me. So I joined the Coast Guard. If you're not familiar with the Coast Guard, it's similar to the Navy. You're on the water a lot. And I was a hospital corpsman. I was a medic. And I got stationed on a base in Yorktown, Virginia. And one day I was sitting in the base laundromat doing my laundry. I'm reading the Sunday paper. Mm-hmm. And I see an audition for West Side Story. And I'd always thought about getting into acting. I thought it'd be kind of fun. So I went on the audition, believe it or not, and I got it. I got a part. I got a part in the play. Believe it or not, I played Chino. I think it's because at the time I had a mustache and I had a lot of dark hair, and they thought I guess looked a little Latino. Anyway, I got the part. And it was a great experience. I had a fantastic time. I met all these really cool people. And I'm like, damn, this is fun, And so I started auditioning for other plays while I was in Virginia. And every time I auditioned, I got the role. I'm like, wow, this is easy, This is easy. And in one of the plays, I met a guy who was going to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. He was in the Army, and he was being discharged. And he was going to New York to go to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And he said, listen, why don't you come up sometime and visit? So I did. I took the train one day from Virginia, went all the way to New York, went to the American Academy. I met him. He showed me around the school, and I got all this information I needed to apply. And so I applied. I went back to New York to audition, because back then we didn't have Zoom. Back in the old days, we didn't have Zoom. And I got accepted. I got accepted into the program. And so I did my 2 years at the American Academy. And then they invited me and 18 other students back to be in what they call a repertory program, where all we did was plays. And I found out there was 400 students that they chose from. And I was one of the 20 that made it. So I was like, wow. So that was kind of a little ego boost. I felt good about that. Right. So we did that year of the program, and then that ended. And it's like, okay, what do I do now? I was doing odd jobs. I was selling shoes. I was waiting tables. And every once in a while I'd get a little, off Broadway show. That really didn't pay much, if anything, but it was just experience in the theater. And then one day, my roommate comes home and he goes, oh, I hear they're having auditions for a national tour of Biloxi Blues. It was a Neil Simon play that was on Broadway at the time. They said, yeah. A friend of mine said, yeah, they're going to have auditions. And he said, you should go, because at the time I had hair. I looked like I was 18, 19 years old. And he said, go drop off your picture and resume. See if you can get an audition. So I said, oh, come on. Said, what are the chances? I said, all right. So I did it. So I went in, the secretary, it's always a secretary there. She takes my picture and resume. She goes into another room, and I'm waiting. She comes back with my picture and resume. I'm like, she's going to give it back to me and say, but thank you. She says, can you be at the Minskoff Theater tomorrow at 10 a.m.? I'm like, yeah. And she gave me what they call sides. It's like part of the script.
Yes.
And she said, come back tomorrow at 10 a.m. and you'll audition. So I said, okay. So I was waiting tables, but that was in the evening. So I had time to go. So I went, and then they said, after I auditioned, they called me to the table and they said, are you available tomorrow to come back? But tomorrow we'd like you to go to the Neil Simon Theater. The Broadway show was being held. I'm like, God. And they said, can you see the show this evening? Is it possible for you to watch the show? Because I think, and I said, yeah. So I told my boss I couldn't be in. You know, I was sick. So I went and saw the show. And the next day I auditioned and I got up on stage, on the Broadway stage, and I'm doing my thing. And within like 20 seconds, I hear somebody say, thank you. That's good. Thank you. And I'm like, oh man, really? I was only up there 20 seconds. So I figured, well, I didn't get it, but I got close. So I'm walking around the city. It's cold. It was February. And so back then they had services. You could call to see if you got, an audition or something. So I call my service and they say, yeah, Manny Eisenberg wants you to go to his office tomorrow, or if you can do it today to sign a contract for Biloxi Blues. I'm like, oh my God. And I got, so I go to the office. I went like that afternoon and it happened to be his birthday, his birthday. And they're pouring champagne and cutting cake. And he's giving me champagne and cake. And I signed my first, professional contract. And I went on tour for a year and a half.
Wow.
And then I came back and did some regional theater, but then again, I was waiting tables again, and then I said, you know what, I don't know, man. I got married, ended up having a child, and, the acting jobs weren't coming. And so I went back to school. I got my master's in education. And then I started teaching. I taught special education history.
Okay.
For 21 years. And in between that, I met Matt. We were doing a show together. I was doing a show, and one of the guys in the show could not remember his lines. So the director fired this guy and called in Matt. And to Matt's credit, he learned, a lot of lines in like 3 days. And he came in and did the show, and we just hit it off, and became friends. And, I saw him in some shows he did, and he invited me to be in a couple of his shows. And, before you know it, the company began to form, Ruth Stage.
Right.
And he's always been so generous in offering me, role, in the play. And
yes. And soon you're going to be performing in February in off-Broadway show, Cat on the Hat in Roof. I know you're excited about that. And you're also involved into mentoring others who are just starting getting into acting. What would be your advice for somebody who is still searching for their own passion in life and they don't know if this is something for them? How would they be discovering if that's something they want to do for the rest of their life, if this is something they have talent for? So you as a teacher and a mentor, how would you usually see if that's the right person for that job?
Well, I do an after-school program. At the school I taught at. I do a drama program after school twice a week. And what these are 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And the 8th graders, some of them want to go to a performance high school, which means it's a school, dedicated to the performing arts. There's several of them in New York. The most famous is, it's now called LaGuardia High School.
Okay.
And they're very difficult to get into. You have to audition and be invited into the program. But that's one way of finding out if you have what it takes. It's a very strenuous program. Or if you've already graduated high school and you want to, take a chance at trying some stuff out, there's acting schools all around New York. Sometimes you can just take weekly classes just to see if you like it. Right. Other times it's like a conservatory program like I was involved in, where it's a full-time, commitment for at least a couple of years.
Yes.
But there's so many opportunities in New York to find out if, and I'm just coming from the acting standpoint. I'm not talking answers, or because I don't know what they have to really go through. But as an actor, I would say take some acting classes. They're not that expensive. There are schools all through New York, Manhattan, even in Brooklyn, and see how it feels. Get up on stage. Some people don't like being directed. You know what I mean? Some people have an issue with someone else telling them what to do. That's not really good if you want to be an actor. Right. I mean, there's compromises, but you can't just say, no, get out of here. Yeah, so I would say get yourself into an acting class somehow.
Okay.
And see if you like it. And then from there, you meet people. It's a lot of, the connections are very important. I mean, you can be very talented, but if you don't know who or where to go, it can be very, very, frustrating. So, of
course.
Yeah, meet people in the business,
Right. And you have to have that desire to kind of like explore more of that new. It could start as a hobby and see if that could grow into something more serious, and see how you feel being on the stage. And like you said,
that's what I did.
Connections as well.
That's what I did when I was in the Coast Guard. I started going out to these little community theaters to audition, and I found out I was pretty good at it.
Right.
I had confidence in myself, and it was fun. I met some great people. We would have, a lot of fun on and off stage. And I said, wow, you can actually make a living at this. Well, some people can, it's a very, 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 I can't stress that enough, very competitive business, extremely competitive. So you just have to keep at it. I mean, I never let my dream die. Even when I was teaching, I always knew that when I retired, I was going to get back into acting. And like I said, in between, like in the summers, I would try to do an acting gig sometimes if I got cast in a role. But yeah, I always kept that dream alive. So that's another thing. You have to have that desire. Yeah, you have to have that drive. Otherwise, it's just going to eat you up, And you have to be able to deal with rejection, except when you go on dates. Rejection. Just put that word in your vocabulary, because it's literally, unless you are just phenomenal, which maybe 1 or 2% of all actors just think, wow, we have to have this person. They're just so talented, But you read about, actors, famous actors starting out, they have the same problem. They, no, thank you. Next,
right.
But they kept at it. That's the thing. You got to be persistent. You have to have confidence in yourself, and you have to be able to accept rejection without it just, making you disabled mentally, physically.
Right. I feel like rejection is just part of the journey. You still gonna meet it no matter what. Doesn't matter which business it is or which area of your life, you're still gonna face it, but it's up to you to decide how you're gonna react to it, and how you're gonna respond, and what's next. Are you ready to still continue getting to the goal that you set for yourself? Is it really something you want to do for the rest of your life? Do you have what it takes? And that shouldn't be something that will stop you from pursuing your dream.
Right. And that's what I would tell my kids. in class when I was teaching. You know, they get a bad grade on a test or something. I say, listen, it's all right. It's one test. All right. You didn't do so well on this one, but hopefully that'll inspire you maybe to try a little harder for the next one. You know, it's up to you. I mean, you can stay at this level, or you can, you know, rise above it a little bit. And, you know, sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. But, you know, you put that out there to let them know that this is not the end all and be all. You know, you're not going to be a failure your whole life. Come on, you failed the test. Right. Everybody has failed the test at some point or another. So, yeah, you just got to, you know, you got to be strong. You got to, especially in New York. I mean, no matter what you do in New York, it's competitive. There's 1,000 people like for every job, you know, and but you have to, you know, have confidence in yourself. That's the biggest thing. If you don't have confidence in yourself, then others won't have it in you either. You know,
right.
So
you have to also think how you're presenting yourself, and it all comes within. If you are ready to take upon that challenge, and nothing really will stop you. It's, you know, it's always like a lesson that we learn and get stronger afterwards, and just keep using those skills to get where we want in life.
Yeah, it builds moral character.
Right.
You know, it'll either break you down and you'll quit, or it'll make you stronger and you'll hang in there. I know a lot of friends that just gave up. You know, they just said, I don't want to do this anymore. And, you know, they went into, you know, regular mainstream jobs. And some of them regret it, you know, but I say it's never too late. You know,
no, it's never too late. And we decide when it's always a good time to start today. And, you know, like when you waiting for the right time to come, it could never come.
It never comes, right?
Never comes. And the question becomes, are you ready to do it no matter what? Or you're going to find an excuse to not doing it?
Right.
So it's
and
not
it's
about
easy.
time, and it's about your readiness for it.
It's always easy to find excuses are the easiest things to, I can't because this, you know. So but you know, it can take your toll. It can take a toll if you're out auditioning a lot and you're not getting anything. You know, you're not even getting what they call a callback. You know, a callback is like, well, they're kind of interested. You know, if you don't get a callback, it's like they weren't interested at all. You know. So getting a callback, at least it's, you know, well, I have a chance, you know. So, but yeah, in the last couple of years, you know, because of the whole COVID thing, it's just been, the theater's been so crazy. But again, going back to Matt, I thank Matt for putting me, you know, allowing me to be in the show over the summer. And then we're going to do it again this spring. And hopefully it'll springboard into something bigger. We don't know.
Yes, it's possible.
It's exciting. It's exciting.
Of course. And you just touched upon, you know, very important topic for a lot of us, which is dating. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on, you know, how has it been in the dating scene once again right now for you? And I know it's very challenging to find the right partner using the online apps or other tools. And it will just let me know, like, what do you think about that?
Well, for the most part, it sucks, you know, for the most part. Well, I'm 65. Okay. I'm 65. People say, oh, you don't look 65. I say, thank you, but I'm 65. I feel good. I'm very fit mentally. You know, I feel like I'm, you know, 25. But I mean, you know, it's tough, you know, because you put yourself out there, and again, it's rejection, you know, for me. Okay. If I look like Brad Pitt, I'd probably, you know, have no problem getting a date. But I mean, I have to be honest with who I am, you know, and accept what I look like and my age. And if anybody is interested that I feel I'd like to meet, then I will I will, yeah, let's meet, let's go get a coffee or a drink and talk.
Right.
And so, but it's few and far between for me.
Mm-hmm.
I like to let things happen more organically,
Yes.
like
Naturally.
like if you work somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
you work with a lot of people, the chances of you meeting somebody, are far better than a dating site, or they may have a friend, that might be interested in going out. So yeah, I like it to happen more organically.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's now that I'm retired, I'm not in a situation where there's lots of people. So,
Right.
but I've been thinking also of going back and taking some acting classes.
Oh, that's
You
good.
can you can always work on other things. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's acting is always like a developing craft. You can always get better or learn new things, and
Mm-hmm.
it also give me a chance to be around other people.
Yes, you kind of
Who,
like create those opportunities for
yeah, who,
yourself. You never
yeah,
know who you can meet
yeah,
during those times.
and people who are in it for the same reason. They're passionate about it. They love it.
Mm-hmm.
And you never know. I might meet a nice woman. You never know. You never know.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, if
it
it
is
happens, it
possible, of
happens. But
course.
I mean, you have to put yourself out there. You have to get out
Yes.
into a public situation. I mean, these
Mm-hmm.
dating sites, swipe, 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 swipe. It's and it's yeah. But that's what I'm thinking of doing. Probably after the show is over,
Mm-hmm.
in the spring. If I don't get an acting job for the summer, I will.
Yeah,
I'll definitely take some classes over the summer, and
mm,
yeah, just to keep
that's
myself
good.
sharp, try out some things. Because in acting class, you can fail. You can fail miserably,
Mm,
and you're not going to get docked for it. People will give you some feedback. Your teacher. Sometimes you
yeah.
get some peer feedback, but you could just be horrible in a particular thing, and it's not going to hurt you. If anything, it's going to help you. It's going to make you realize what you did. Now, I think they film you too. While you're doing your thing, so you could see what you look like on stage,
Mm, okay.
and that helps tremendously. You go, oh my God, I kept doing this. I didn't realize I was doing this all the time.
No, that's true. We
Yeah.
don't realize
No, you
unless we
don't.
see
It's just
ourselves
like a
from the
nervous thing.
outside. Yeah.
And so you see how I segue off of dating? See how fast I did that? I went back to acting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
why
but
a good actor, you know, we all can confirm that.
yeah, dating,
Uh,
yeah, it's tough, especially for someone my age, and unless I
mhm.
was extremely wealthy. But then the people you're meeting there are not, they don't really care for you. It's just your money, But
No, I think like the most important thing, like you just mentioned, is to create opportunities for yourself,
mhm.
get yourself out there, and try to socialize in different settings and
Yeah,
see
yeah,
how it comes. And it not only gives you, kind of like something to do and to stay in touch with others, to network, but also you never know what could happen. So again, like it comes back to not uh, taking rejection personally, but
right.
rather like kind of, like channel that energy in
Hmm.
towards finding yourself what you're looking for.
Right,
All
right.
right.
So
Thank you,
thank
Milton, for
you.
your time and your
Okay.
wisdom. And I hope everything goes well for you. And good luck for upcoming show this February. I'd like to see it as well, and I'll be there.
Okay.
All
Take
right.
care. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.